edition of Inside Nigeria, your breakfast on Leadership Television. My name is Winifred Ubebo, your host on the program. Today is September 16th, 2025. And of course, we are looking at what the papers are saying on today's segment of the show. Leadership's leading story says 2027 Northern leaders differ with Governor Bago. Yesterday on TVC's monitored program interview, the governor of Niger State did say that the North has no business contesting against Tinubu for 2027 presidential election. Say politicians from, and of course that has been met with resistance, with different responses coming from the Arewa Consultative Forum, saying that Northern leaders differ with Governor Bago, saying that Northerners have a right to contest in any election. And going down memory lane, they did say that we have had two Northerners who contested against Olusegun Obasanjo in 2023. Leadership's leading story says 2027 Northern leaders differ with Governor Bago. Say politicians from North have constitutional right to contest against Tinubu. And that story continues on page 4 of Leadership. Before we bring in the Leadership's analyst, Paul Uwadima, to talk more on the story, let's just read some excerpts from the leading story on today's Leadership newspaper. The topmost Northern social-cultural organization, Arewa Consultative Forum, ACF, has declared that Northern aspirants, like other Nigerians, have the constitutional right to contest the 2027 presidential elections against President Bola Tinubu. ACF National Publicity Secretary, Professor T.A. Mohammed Bago, dismissed such calls and said there was no way to stop any Northerner from contesting the top position. He noted that such calls had been made earlier but failed to yield positive results. Mohammed Bago made this clarification while reacting to a comment by Niger State Governor Mohammed Bago, who asked Northerners willing to be Nigeria's president to wait until 2031, in keeping with a power rotation deal of the presidency rotating between the northern and southern regions. However, Governor Bago, this is not the first time this call is coming from. The SGF also made a statement months back that the Northerners should wait for their turn. Meanwhile, before we move on to other stories gracing the cover of Leadership, let's have Leadership analyst Paul Uwadima to shed light on this. Paul, is it the constitutional right? However, though it's not in the Constitution, but however, it's like a gentleman's agreement that power rotation should rotate between the North and South regions of the country. And now that President Bola Tinubu is just spending 2 years, there are agitations even from the Northerners, like former Vice President Abubakar Atiku, to contest the 2027 election. And this is not going down well with a cross-section of Nigerians, especially the southern region. Paul, what are your views on this?
Thank you very much.
First and foremost, welcome to today's Inside Nigeria, Paul.
Yes, thank you very much for having me. It's an interesting question. But the truth is that constitutionally, every Nigerian is entitled to contest the election as president of Nigeria if he so wish. In that aspect, the Arewa Consultative Forum is right. They cannot stop any Northerner who is determined to contest the 2027 election. They don't even have the right to stop anyone in any case, because it is the right of any Northerner to contest, or any Nigerian for that matter, to contest the 2027 election. However, the Arewa Consultative Forum and the Secretary to the Federal Government you mentioned earlier on are being clever by half. Okay?
I'm listening to you, Paul.
Yes. The Arewa Consultative Forum, they are being clever by half, because they are aware, many of them are elders, they are aware of the history of this country.
Yes.
That there is a power rotation, even though it's unwritten, between North and South. That was why many of them in the Arewa Consultative Forum worked against Jonathan in 2015, because they believe strongly that power should return to North after Obasanjo's 8 years and Jonathan's 5 years. You know that in between, Yaradua's tenure that was for the North was cut short because of his death.
Yes.
So as a result of that, it is obvious that they are aware that power used to rotate between North and South. And that was why many of them in that Arewa Consultative Forum worked against the re-election of Jonathan in 2015. Now, after Buhari who is from the North, has spent 8 years in office, common sense dictates that power should be to the South, and he has to stay for 8 years in the South. I agree, I accept the frustration of the North that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has failed the North, he has failed the country, but that is not a justifiable reason for power to return to the North in 2027, which is the agenda being pursued by former Vice President Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. Okay? What Atiku Abubakar is trying to do is a violation of this rotation principle. And Abubakar is notorious for doing this. Don't forget, he was the one that worked against power rotation in the PDP in 2023. Even though the PDP had set up a committee to determine the rotation, whether to zone or not to zone, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar rushed to go and pick the form, thereby stopping them on their track. And that was how Atiku Abubakar, together with the FCT minister, who was afraid that they wanted to microzone the presidency to the southeast, and he wanted to contest, being from the south-south. So Atiku and Yesowike worked against zoning in PDP. So Atiku is continuing the same process right now by insisting that he will contest. So what I'm saying in summary is that the Arewa Consultative Forum is right constitutionally that no Northerner or any Nigerian can be stopped from contesting the presidency. But North has a moral responsibility to advise their own, to say, step aside, wait for 2031. And that is the message that several people have been sending to Alhaji Atiku Abubakar and all others from the North.
All right.
If you notice,
now, Mr.
Atiku Abubakar, okay.
I want to intervene now.
Okay.
You know, Nigerians voting has been patterned along ethnic and religious lines. Now, with this stance now, come 2027, are we going to see more polarization among regional lines? Because we are having a situation whereby people from the southern region are saying that should the North or Atiku Abubakar come out for 2027 presidential elections, they are going to vote for their own President Bola Tinubu to continue in office. Are we going to see more of that in 2027 election?
I think it will be foolish of Southerners to say that they are going to vote for Tinubu if a Northern person come out. Why did I say this?
Why did you say so?
President Bola Ahmed Tinubu himself, when a Southerner was the president in 2015, was colluded with the North. I don't know whether that's the right word to use, but he formed a coalition with the North to remove a certain president that was performing even better than the APC in the last 12 years. Okay?
Yes.
Tinubu did not consider Southern solidarity when he worked against Jonathan. So I don't think anybody should be talking about that. What is important is that the South should rally around another Southern candidate that can be able to perform. Okay? Because, look, let's be clear about it. Tinubu is having the lowest presidential mandate in Nigeria's history. In the last election, INEC gave him 8.7 million votes. INEC gave Atiku Abubakar 6.9 million votes. INEC gave Peter Obi 6.1 million votes. INEC gave Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso 1.4 million votes. If you calculate all these votes from Atiku to Peter Obi to Kwankwaso to Sowore and others, over 15 million Nigerians rejected him to be their president. If you calculate it, you know that Tinubu became president only by just scoring 30-something% of the vote. That is not a wide mandate. Instead of reconciling the country, he has failed to reconcile the country. Instead, what he's doing is he has gotten to the point where it's even worse than Buhari, that people were accused of nepotism. Let me give you a typical example. There was a recent report which showed that in 2 years of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, Lagos alone got 3.9 trillion naira budget. Lagos alone. This 3.9 trillion is double the whole of Northwest project. This is Lagos alone. And Lagos alone is getting 3.9 trillion. The Northwest, 7 states, Lagos is getting double what the 7 states in Northwest got. He's gotten almost 4 times what the Northeast got. We are not talking about Southeast. It's like 10 times what the Southeast got. Now look at the Niger Delta that produces the oil. Lagos got 2 times what Niger Delta got. So on what basis will people look at him and say that look at the indices. People are saying the food prices are coming down. No food price has come down to the level that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu made it. You can go and fast check me. No food price had come down. We have to look at his performance from what was the food price on May 28, 2023, when he took over, before we begin to say that food prices are coming down. And he knows it. That's why he's telling his lieutenants to go and crash food price. And they think that just importing food will solve the problem. No, insecurity needs to be addressed. Farmers need to go to farm. And Nigeria needs to grow its own food. It has failed in that direction. And this is national. That's why I love what the former Speaker of the House of Representatives and now former Governor of Sokoto State, Aminu Tambawa, said. He said there is a national consensus that Tinubu should be stopped. It's not a northern thing. It's not a southern thing. It is a national consensus. That's what he said. And I like the way he put it. National consensus. And that is what is needed. But my own is that even though it's a national consensus, that national consensus should revolve around a southern president emerging in 2027. But it doesn't have to be Tinubu. It can be another person who can do a better job. That's my understanding of what is going on.
Just before you go, Mr. Paul, yesterday it was reported, I think it happened on Sunday, that the ex-lawmakers, during their meeting, they did endorse Tinubu for 2027. Perhaps the former governor and former Speaker of House of Representatives, Aminu Tambuwa, is not a member of the lawmakers, ex-lawmakers association in Nigeria.
Okay, to answer that question, yes. Because they have failed, they are trying to frame the narrative of the coming election, North versus South. So what the Tinubu lieutenants are now doing, they are trying to mobilize the South. The same Southerners they have not favored.
You didn't get the cross of my question. The Aminu Tambuwa that you cited, I said perhaps he doesn't belong to the ex-lawmakers association of Nigeria.
Of course he doesn't.
But they have endorsed President Bola Tinubu for 2027 election.
Yes, those are the
former Senate President Ken Nnamani and every
yes. And of course, Nnamani is APC chieftain. Nnamani is APC chieftain.
Yes.
I say APC chieftain. Dugara, you mentioned, he has been dancing around since, and he has been given some job to do. They have appointed him to a position, so you can understand his presence there. But those who are not included, those who have not yet been invited to chop, and they are the majority, they are not there, of course. So this is just about those who are favored. But like I want to point out, this Southern Summit and all that is part of the way they recently propped up Southern Nigerian Traditional Rulers Council. All these things are just to play to the gallery. Akere Dolu, the late governor of
Ondo State.
Yes, he led what they call a Asaba declaration that insisted that power must return to Southern Nigeria.
And he did.
Yes, and they did. But since that time, have they ever met again?
No.
Because the election is coming, so they are propping up people from Southern Nigeria, say this is our own. But when the food are being shared, only very few people are called to the table. That's the danger. So what South need is a leader who is going to represent all Nigerians. And what South need is to support a candidate that could be able to do the right thing, so that in 4 years' time, from 2027, a new Nigeria could be possible.
All right, thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to have you on the program. Well, viewers, you've had the pleasure of hearing from leadership analyst Paul Uwadima. Thank you so much. We'll go back to our newspaper review. Continuing from where we stopped, leadership newspaper.